As the late great Whitney Houston said, I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Bet you didn't know that was me singing, huh? Well, if our future is in the hands of Brooklyn Andraki, who had an unusual encounter with her neighborhood garbage man, things might not pan out how you think. And she's not the only one with a tale like this. So tissues at the ready, this one's emotional. It's time to meet some kids with truly astounding stories. Sweet gesture. We all get by with a little help from our friends. Don't worry, I'm not about to sing again, but I often wonder where I'd be in life without my best buds. We're an unlikely bunch, but it works. However weird I think my friends are though, we've got nothing on this unlikely pairing. Back in 2016, 3-year-old Brooklyn Andraki from Bloomington, Illinois made a highly unusual friend in her local garbage man, Delver Dobson. Every Thursday when Delver would drive past Brooklyn's house, she'd stand in the window and wave to him, and Delver would smile and honk his horn to say hello back. This exchange went on for months, and according to Brooklyn's mother, it was the highlight of her week. Just after her 3rd birthday, which was on a Wednesday, Brooklyn wanted to celebrate with her favorite neighborhood sanitation worker. So she wrapped up one of her birthday cupcakes and the next day waited for Delver to drive past her house. Sure enough, Delver pulled his truck over and hopped out and was surprised but very thankful for the lovely gift. Brooklyn was starstruck at the encounter and couldn't talk, so her mother explained how much seeing him drive past every week meant to her. Delver was touched and thanked Brooklyn again before taking his leave. Later that day, Brooklyn's mom noticed that she was unusually quiet in the back seat of the car. Concerned for her daughter's well-being, she asked if everything was okay. Little Brooklyn turned to look at her mother, smiled, and simply said, "Mommy, I'm so happy." Aw, getting to meet Delver had made Brooklyn's birthday extra special. But want to know what makes this story even more wholesome? It turns out the whole encounter had brought a lot of joy to Delver's week too. The next time he came by, he pulled over once more, but this time it was Brooklyn's turn to receive a gift. To thank her for sharing her birthday cupcakes with him, Delver had bought her some toys from her favorite movie, Frozen. Aw, isn't that sweet? But it doesn't stop there. Fast forward another week and Brooklyn decided to do something nice for Delver one last time. She made him this wonderful sign saying, "Thank you, Delver." He absolutely loved it and later fastened it to his truck. How lovely. That way he always has something to remember her by. Sure, it's not the most grandiose gesture you've ever heard, but it goes to show how much a small token of appreciation can really mean. A little gratitude every now and then is what it's all about. Getting through it together. Let's be real, it ain't easy being a kid. Growing up is tough, and I was lucky. My childhood was nowhere near as grueling as John Thuo's. His mother and father struggled to look after him, so poor John was forced to live out on his own on the treacherous streets of Nairobi, Kenya. Every day he'd approach stopped cars and beg for money because it was either that or go hungry. How devastating. However, one day John's life took a totally unexpected turn. It started off like any other day with John busy at the roadside scrapping together a few Kenyan shillings towards some food, but the next car he approached would change his life forever. When he looked inside, he saw there was a woman in the passenger seat hooked up to several complicated-looking machines. Curious, John asked what they were for. The woman told him her name was Gladys Kamande and that she'd suffered a collapsed lung. This meant everywhere she went she needed an oxygen concentrator, cylinders, and a generator just to breathe. Sheesh. As if that wasn't bad enough, Gladys had been through 12 surgeries to try to fix her problems, none of which had worked. In fact, one of the surgeons had accidentally ruptured her optical nerve and left her blind. Man, what's more, her family was struggling to cover the thousands in medical bills they needed to help her. John began crying. Sure, his life was hard, but at least he had his health. He was so moved by Gladys's story that he actually gave her all the money he'd made that day. Unbelievable. By sheer chance, John's kindness was seen by a passerby who posted about it on their social media. Then, everything changed. The story went mega viral and hundreds of internet strangers came forward offering to help pay for Gladys's medical bills. Amazingly, they raised over $80,000, more than enough to get Gladys the medical assistance she needed. Now she doesn't need as much of that heavy breathing equipment and even had corrective surgery, so miraculously, she can see again. Wow. But that's not all. With the leftover money, Gladys decided to repay John's kindness and help him get adopted and back into school. Damn, let's go! John's kindness didn't just help Gladys, it helped him find a new family and a better life. How amazing is that? Oh, and John and Gladys remain good friends to this day. I'm not crying, you are! Bakersfield birthday. Is any time more magical than Christmas? The lights, the food, the presents? Come on! Well, back in 2015, Christmas in the Hoveder household in Bakersfield, California looked a little different than most. It all started when their 6-year-old Alex saw a homeless man sleeping under a bridge. Alex was crushed that some people had to live like that and wanted to help. But his parents didn't have the money to pay for Christmas and a gift to Alex to help the homeless. So they offered him a choice. He could have his presents or give them up to do something nice for the homeless. What do you think a normal 6-year-old would pick? Well, Alex isn't your usual 6-year-old. Watch this. Yep, this little boy gave up his Christmas presents to do something good for people who needed it. How ridiculously awesome is that? His parents accompanied him as he gave out packages containing food, water, and jackets to keep those less fortunate warm throughout winter. Now, truth be told, the Hoveders didn't spend all their Christmas money on the homeless. Alex's parents said about 30% of their budget went onto the project, so don't worry, the little legend didn't wake up to an empty stocking. And neither should he have. It's easy to see someone living rough as the orchestrator of their own downfall, but that's not what kids see. They see another human struggling and reach out to help. That's the real spirit of Christmas right there, giving. So if you're feeling generous, why not give a little love to the like and subscribe buttons? It lets me know you're enjoying the video, and in return, I'll keep providing you with more awesome content. Great, now let's get back to the video. Try a little harder. Sometimes when I shut my eyes, I dream I'm scoring the winning touchdown at the Super Bowl. Millions of people are cheering my name. Be amazed. Be amazed. Oh, what a life. But back in 2014, Noah and Lucas Aldrich, two brothers from Idaho, actually realized their sporting dream, against all odds. See, Lucas was born with a rare brain condition called lysencephaly, which prevented his brain from fully developing and left him unable to walk without assistance. That's mortifying. But when best big bro Noah heard his local YMCA were organizing a mini triathlon event for children, he was adamant they'd both get over the finish line. Wait a minute, poor Lucas can't run, ride a bike, or swim. How on earth would he be able to compete? When you've got an awesome brother like Noah, anything is possible. First, he swam an exhausting 650 feet through crashing waves while dragging Lucas behind him on a rubber dinghy. Next, he flew around a quad-melting 3-mile bike ride, pulling Lucas along in a cool and stylish trailer. Finally, even though he was tired and his legs wobbled like a plate of Nana's Jell-O, Noah dug deep and ran a blistering mile, pushing Lucas in front of him in a custom stroller over the finish line and completing the race. Hardcore. Boy, I'm tired from just talking about it. But what a heroic achievement by these two brilliant brothers. And guess what? They're still at it. Some 8 years later, the dynamic duo were snapped once again doing what they do best. It's got me feeling all inspired. Maybe I could do a triathlon too. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm out of breath after opening a bag of chips. Lucky ducky. I always thought I was going to grow up and become a veterinarian, but the trauma from a freak mole-related accident still gives me nightmares. Ugh. Luckily, this YouTube thing worked out. Still, some people just have good instincts when it comes to animals. Check this out.
Yeah, you got this. Be real gentle and rescue that ducky.
I got one.
Okay.
Take a video, honey.
Yeah.
This is 6-year-old Mia Rabi. and while on a walk with her mom, she rescued several little ducklings after they'd fallen into a nearby drain. Aww. Mia was alerted to the problem by another family who'd spotted a mother duck sitting with just one duckling by her side. Ducks typically have multiple offspring, so seeing these two alone was no bueno. Well, Mia loves animals, so up she stepped with her slender arms and reached down into the drain to gently pull them out one by one. Then she safely escorted them back to their mother, who was waiting patiently nearby. In total, a bewildering 8 ducklings were rescued. Aww. Then they all got to waddle off as one big happy family. Way to go, Mia. She's even thinking of becoming a veterinarian when she grows up. I'm sure she'll be great. Just please stay away from moles. No more, Molly! Please, no more! Kinder Kinder. The world can be a cruel place. There's taxes, disease, natural disasters, and more taxes. But one boy from Fort Worth, Texas is trying to change our perceptions one kind act at a time. This is Orion Jean, and at the age of just 11, he was selected as Time Magazine's Kid of the Year for 2021. He founded the Race to Kindness program, which donates meals, books, and toys to children in need, all as a part of his mission to make the world a kinder place. And the success of the program has been nothing short of incredible. In 2020, he donated more than 600 toys to a children's hospital in North Texas. Then in 2021, he donated 100,000 meals to those in need who were hungry. But most impressive of all, he collected more than 500,000 books for kids in need. Let me restate. He was 11. 11. Zoinks. Not only is Orion Jean the kindest kid with the coolest name, and the trippiest little man I've ever seen, but he's wise well beyond his years too. He says kindness is a choice, and while we can't force others to be kind, we can be kind ourselves. Sheesh. Yeah, let that sink in. Bet you weren't ready for that truth bomb, right? Orion is spot on. Because the world can be so cruel, we often lose sight of being kind to one another. So why don't you head down to the comments section and tell me the kindest thing you've done recently? Let's get that good vibes train a-rollin'. Choo-choo! Life gives you lemons. I remember one summer I wanted to make a little extra money, so I set up a lemonade stand. To be honest, I ended up drinking all my supply and didn't make a dime. However, when 9-year-old Tristan Jacobson from Springfield, Massachusetts set up his lemonade stand, he was hoping for more than just some extra allowance. Tristan was hoping to raise the money so his foster mother, Donnie Davis, could adopt him permanently. See, Tristan's father is Davis's ex-husband who had an affair which produced Tristan. However, he went to jail shortly after Tristan was born, and his biological mother struggled to care for him on her own. So Davis stepped up, but the $5,000 attorney fees were too steep for her to afford. Unwilling to give up, little Tristan decided to take his future into his own hands and started selling lemonade on the street for $1 a glass. Thanks to a little help from Davis and her new husband who baked cakes and ran a yard sale, the stall raised an incredible $7,100 from local donors. Heck yeah! But that wasn't all. They also set up a fundraising page so people from further afield could donate, and that raised a further $10,000. Gadzooks! Not only did they now have more than enough money to pay the attorney fees, but any leftover amount was put aside to pay for Tristan's education. What an awesome family. I sure hope it works out for them. I kinda want them to adopt me too. They sound like the best parents. Mitzvah to remember. There's no more important event for a child in the Jewish faith than their bar mitzvah. After all, it's a big coming-of-age celebration where they start being held accountable for their actions. But when Michael Elenoff from Pittsburgh had his bar mitzvah, he decided to celebrate a little differently. Usually, the child who is celebrating is given gifts. However, while Michael was talking to his tutor one day, she told him a tragic story about her daughter, Myra, who'd had an accident and suffered major burns across her legs and torso. Michael felt awful for his tutor and her daughter. So, taking inspiration from the word mitzvah, which means good deed in Hebrew, he decided to forego receiving gifts for his special day. Instead, the selfless kid asked his guests to bring toys to donate to Myra and the pediatric burns unit at his local hospital. Whoa. In total, Michael's efforts raised more than 150 gifts for children who were suffering debilitating injuries. Because of Michael's selflessness, children in desperate situations like Myra had things to do instead of sitting there bored. What a guy! As for a coming of age, I'd say Michael has proved he's more than mature for his age, wouldn't you? Water whiz. One of the saddest news stories in recent years has been the toxic water supply in Flint, Michigan. When the city changed their municipal water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River in 2014, distribution pipes corroded and leached toxic lead and other contaminants into the drinking water. It devastated the community and caused widespread panic throughout the entire U.S. regarding the cleanliness of drinking water. When 11-year-old Gitanjali Rao saw her parents testing the water in her home in Lone Tree, Colorado, she was appalled at how slow and unreliable the methods of testing were. So this little science whiz decided to take the issue into her own hands. After a spell of research, she learned about some new technologies that detected hazardous substances and decided to see if they could be adapted to detect lead. It turns out they could. With a little help from her school, she devised a new solution for water testing which was both inexpensive and portable. Gitanjali's device is simple to use. You just dip it in any water you suspect may be contaminated. A cartridge on the dipping end contains chemically treated carbon nanotubes that are sensitive to the flow of electrons. The chemical treatment makes the cartridge attract any lead that might be in the water. If there is lead, it'll slow down the electrons flowing through. So by measuring the flow rate, you can quickly determine how much lead is in the water and therefore how safe it is. Then the results are sent neatly to your smartphone. Bish, bash, boosh. This ingenious invention won Gitanjali America's Top Young Scientist Award. Jeepers creepers, she's potentially saved hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and she's only 11. And to think when I was 11, I barely knew my left from my right. Cheetah Champ. What was your favorite animal growing up? Me? I like goldfish. Me and my buddy Finley here go way back. Live you long time, Fin Dog. But for Joris Hutchinson from Seattle, Washington, his favorite animal is a lot more terrifying than mine. He loves cheetahs. So when aged just 6 years old, Joris discovered that cheetahs were endangered and might go extinct. He decided to do whatever he could to stop that from happening. With the help of his mom Karen, he started organizing multiple fundraising events selling lemonade, flowers, and t-shirts, and set up skating parties and garage sales to donate as much as he could to the Nankuse Wildlife Sanctuary in Namibia. It's been over 9 years now, and Joris is still fundraising for the organization. In fact, he's raised well over a staggering $30,000 to fit cheetahs with GPS trackers and work alongside local farmers to protect them. Astounding! He even volunteers there over the summers, cleaning out cheetah enclosures and preparing their food. Yo, that's one brave kid. If that were me, I'd be more worried about becoming the food. I mean, just look at me, I'm delicious. Skater's gonna skate. In life, few things are objectively true. We all have beliefs and opinions. Whilst that can be complicated, it's also what makes us unique and different. However, one thing we can all agree on is landing a 180 tray flip this clean is freaking gnarly, dude. But when 6-year-old Peyton Thomas wanted to take up skating, she was quite overwhelmed by the whole experience. To start, she'd only ever seen boys skating, so she didn't feel like she belonged on the ramps. After a pep talk from Mom Jinian, though, Peyton plucked up the courage to go. However, when she got to her local park, she was intimidated by the older boys who were stood around smoking and using bad language. Much to Peyton's surprise, though, after a few minutes of seeing her nervous struggling, one of the boys came over and offered to help her. He showed Peyton where to place her feet and gave her other helpful tips, which made her first time an absolute joy. Soon, she was zooming around the halfpipes like a natural. And even though the boys' friends were laughing at him for giving Peyton her first lesson, it didn't stop him. Peyton's mom was left stunned by the display, and Peyton herself left the park with pride and a newfound sense of belonging. There's a few lessons here. 1. Be like Peyton. If you want to do something, be brave and never quit. 2. Be like the boy who helped her. Encourage people's passions. 3. Skating is rad, but skating at the age of 6 is even radder. Fundraiser from afar. When I was young, I'd sit and watch cartoons all day. I wasn't into all those boring adult shows like the news. Blech. But when 8-year-old Cameron Smalls from Charleston, South Carolina caught a snippet of the news his parents were watching, it motivated him to do something incredible. Cameron saw the Comeau family hundreds of miles away in Louisiana who'd lost everything to a devastating flood that had destroyed their home. The whole family was distraught, but Ethan Comeau, the family's son, had taken it particularly hard. The young boy was pictured crying in his ruined room. He'd lost all his toys and clothes and his TV set too. Cameron thought about how distressed he'd be if that happened to him. So unbelievably, he set about trying to raise money for the Comeaus, a family he'd never even met before and only ever seen on the news. He decided $2,000 would cover a good amount of their losses and began raising money at his church when some police officers noticed the effort and decided to help out. Other members of the community followed suit, and before long, donations were pouring in from across the county. Cameron quickly smashed through his $2,000 target to hit a whopping $4,000. Way to go! Not only that, but he'd received donations of toys, TVs, and clothes too, and with the help of his local law enforcement, loaded up an SUV to drive and deliver the goods to the Comeau family. All for a total stranger he felt sorry for. Understandably, the Comeaus were blown away by the stunning act of generosity. Yep, despite his name, Cameron Smalls has the biggest of hearts. Happy Animals Club. Back in 2014, Davao City in the Philippines was having a massive problem. They were overrun by stray dogs and struggling to do anything about it. It was so bad that the animal control unit was capturing up to 50 dogs a day. But if an owner didn't come for them after 3 days, they'd have to be put down. That's so sad. When 8-year-old local Ken Amante was walking home from school, he used to see all the starving strays on the street. Ken's father started noticing his son was coming home later and later each day, and his pocket money kept mysteriously disappearing. So one day, the concerned dad followed him to see what was going on. What he saw absolutely shocked him. He watched his son enter a grocery store and come out with a bag bulging full of stuff. Then, as kid walked into town, he suddenly stopped in the middle of the road and swung his bag off his shoulder. Out of it, he pulled a tin of dog food and some paper plates. Suddenly, stray dogs came running towards the food. Ken had been spending all of his pocket money taking care of the street dogs. Wow. Word spread of the boy's selfless actions, and he went viral on social media, after which over $33,000 worth of donations began pouring in to help him. Jeez. Ken used the money to buy a plot of land and open an animal shelter he named Happy Animals Club. 9 years later, he's managed to save and rehome hundreds of stray cats and dogs. When everyone else had given up hope on these animals, little Ken came in and saved them all. If that doesn't leave you feeling inspired, then I don't know what will. Taking the plunge. I think I'm a big brave boy, but then I remember I'm too scaredy cat to even show my face to you guys. But not everyone is as much of a yellow-bellied coward as me. In 2009, when floods ravaged Bac Lao province in Vietnam, one brave girl jumped into the rushing water with a bowl to save a stranded puppy. Whoa, awesome. And over in Noakhali, Bangladesh, a local boy called Bilal did something even awesomer. The rainy season had caused similar floods there, and he noticed a baby deer had fallen into the rushing river. Like the Vietnamese girl, he couldn't just sit by and do nothing. So Bilal dove into the surging river, swam over to the fawn, and held it aloft out of harm's way. But as he did so, his head went under the water, and he struggled to surface again. Oh no. A group of villagers gathered to watch the tense affair, but after what seemed like a nail-biting eternity, the boy finally emerged from the current, triumphantly holding the deer above his head. Yes! As he waded back to safety, the villagers cheered and clapped at the heroic display, and the fawn was safely reunited with its family. All thanks to Bilal's valiant efforts. Now that's what I'd call diving in the heroism deep end. Hair donation. What's the best thing you've ever done for charity? Maybe it's amazing, maybe you haven't done anything yet. And that's okay. I bet the actions of 6-year-old Christian McPhillamy will inspire you though. After he saw a commercial for Tennessee's St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, he was touched by how many young people were suffering from serious illnesses. In response, he started growing out his hair. Why? Because he wanted to donate it to make wigs for children with cancer, to help them feel more normal. Aw, that's so kind. However, as his hair grew longer, he was teased and bullied mercilessly at school for it, and many people even mistook him for a girl. But he never once changed his mind. because he knew what he was doing was right. In fact, Christian carried on growing his hair for an impressive 2.5 years. So when he finally did have the big chop, he was able to donate 4 long 10-inch locks. That means 4 poor children who lost their hair because of treatment for their illnesses don't have to look different. However happy young Christian looks holding up his donations, I bet whoever received a lovely blonde head of hair looked even happier. Great going, Christian. Shy Boy Story Time. There's no purer love in this world than humans' love for dogs. And at the Humane Society of Missouri in, you guessed it, Missouri, they employ a rather unusual technique to rehabilitate and refamiliarize shy dogs to human interaction. They have a reading program where kids aged 6 to 15 read them stories. Seriously, check this out.
Driveways, road, and fields.
There goes my allergies again. Kids who want to participate have to complete a 10-hour training program before they're allowed to interact with the animals. What's great about it is that many of these dogs come from difficult backgrounds which have made them fear people. This way, no physical interaction is forced on the poor pupper, but if they respond well to the child, they get given a little treat. It also gives children a space to practice their reading skills without the pressure of an adult correcting them all the time. Everyone's happy. Although I'm not sure it's a job I could do, I'd end up wanting to adopt them all and get overrun in my own home. Now think about this. What do you do when you're on public transport, cleaning your house, or you generally just can't stare at a screen? Do you still want to learn amazing facts and have your mind blown? Well, I've got the solution. Be Amazed is now available in podcast form. Look up Be Amazed on all major podcast platforms. Follow us now on the podcast platform of your choice, and you'll have the chance to win $500 of Amazon vouchers. We're giving $100 vouchers away to 5 lucky winners. All you need to do is slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram with a screenshot showing that you follow the Be Amazed podcast and left a top rating. Hurry, the competition ends on the 30th of September. Winners will be chosen at random and announced via our Facebook page. Aw, we've reached the end of the video. Which of those awe-inspiring infants did you like the most? Why don't you let me know in the comments and share any good deeds you've done or that have been done for you while you're at it. I can't wait to read all about them. Thanks for watching.